Yu-Gi-Oh has been around for over a decade and has released a ton of cards throughout the years. Some of these cards are great, some not so much, and some are right in between. Let's go on an adventure in the unknown side of Yu-Gi-Oh and find out some more unique cards in the game. The first one on this list is Tyr, the Vanquishing Warlord. This is a level 10 light fairy monster with 3000 attack and defense, and is part of the small match winner type cards in the game, and it has the effect that after requiring 3 fairy type monsters for its tribute summon, and it can't be special summoned, if Tyr attacks directly and deals the finishing blow, then you win the match. Now, Tyr's effect refers to a match rather than a duel because Yu-Gi-Oh is typically played in a best of 3 format, unlike Master Duel or Duel Links, which are best of 1s. So, if you manage to reduce your opponent's life points to 0 with Tyr's effect, you could end the match fully without playing the second or third duels of the match. And there were even strats that took advantage of this when the first match winner card, Victory Dragon, came into play, which eventually led to the rest of the match winner cards like Tyr to be illegal in competitive use. Victory Dragon was the first match winner card and has a similar effect that you need to tribute summon Victory Dragon with 3 dragon type monsters, and then if it reduces your opponent's life points to 0 with a direct attack, you win the match. And in fact, all match winner cards have a similar effect. In that, you have to tribute summon with 3 of the same card type, whether that be the same type, same card like Pendulums, or even both in some cases. But what makes Victory Dragon unique compared to the rest of the match winners is that this card is weirdly enough not illegal like the other match winner cards. Rather, it's on the forbidden list for some odd reason. The reason most likely being that Konami didn't think it warranted becoming illegal when it first came out, and they just kinda left it on the ban list ever since. Victory Dragon was banned for a pretty unconventional defense tactic against Victory Dragon during matches, in which players that had to face down a Victory Dragon would forfeit once the match was in a losing position, rather than let Victory Dragon's effect proc. Because, rather than the effect activating, you can forfeit before Victory Dragon gets to attack, which isn't illegal, but it is frowned upon. But at the same time, using a match winner card in of itself is kind of frowned upon despite it being a legitimate strategy at the time. So on both sides, you're losing more or less. Now, back to Tyr, who was one of the 33 different match winner cards that are in the TCG, with the Victory Dragon being the first and Kaiser Eagle, the Heaven's Mandate, being the latest. Match winner cards are quite special in both their distribution and effect, and we'll get into that in a second. But first, some context. Each prize winner card is given out at the Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship of each year, starting from 2003 to 2019, and has been either given out for a prize card to the top player, or for attending the World Championships the following year. Typically, 2 match winner cards are released at every World Championship. The winner is given the only ultra rare copy of one card, while the second, third, and fourth place winners receive ultra rare copies of the other card. Then, a super rare copy of last year's card is given out to all the attendees, but there's typically a replica written on it, as well as the text that the card cannot be used in a duel. Each of the various different match winner cards have insanely cool designs, which is the designs of the cards being based on the location of where the World Championships are being held. For example, Grandopolis, the Eternal Golden City, and E-Hero Pit Boss were based in Las Vegas, the host city for that year's World Championship, with both Grandopolis being a bright city full of lights and skyscrapers, and Pit Boss being a reference to the job title of the supervisor of gambling tables at a casino. Each of the 33 different match winner cards are a combination of both main deck and extra deck monsters, but there are no ritual or fusion match winner cards. Probably because the fusion requirements or ritual summoning card would need to be created as well, and the materials for the match winning effect would be too costly. There were even a couple of pendulum match winner cards, like Leonardo's Silver Skyship and the Twin Kings, founder of the Empire, which were prize cards given out at the 2014 World Championship hosted in Italy, and they are based on Leonardo da Vinci and the founders of Rome, Romulus and Remus. But what makes these 2 pendulum cards unique other than being the only pendulum match winner cards is that Silver Skyship is the only match winner normal monster because the match winner effect is actually linked to the pendulum effect rather than the monster effect, and it has the lowest attack point value out of all the match winner cards at 0. Mainly because the effect lets you target 1 pendulum monster to give the match ending attack at the cost of banishing 3 machine type pendulum monsters. On the other hand, the 2 Kings is the only match winner card with 2 somewhat different effects. Both effects are basically the same in that they're both match winning effects, with the pendulum effect allowing you to banish 3 beast pendulum type monsters you control, then target 1 pendulum monster you control to have the match winning effect. And the monster effect is the standard match winning effect for monsters, where you need 3 beast type monsters for the tribute summon of the Twin Kings, and if it reduces your opponent's life points to 0, then you win the match. Another interesting thing about the match winner cards is the exclusivity of them. Because they're distributed only once per year and only one at that time, they are some of the rarest cards you can get. So in terms of buying the match winner cards, they fetch an arguably high price. And why I talked about Tyr at the start of the video is that it's by far one of the most expensive cards in the game to date, at close to $200,000 for a single non-replica copy. Unfortunately, there is no specific reason for why Tyr is one of the most expensive Yu-Gi-Oh cards out there, other than the exclusivity of the card, but regardless, Tyr is definitely one of the more unique match winner cards out there. Next up is a card with almost the same name as Tyr, Tyler the Great Warrior. This is a level 8 Earth Warrior monster with 3000 attack and 1500 defense, and has the effect that when the card destroys the monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you inflict damage to your opponent's life points equal to the attack of the destroyed monster. Tyler the Great Warrior doesn't have a crazy effect or super strong stat line, but why this card's on this list is the origins and the creation of the card. See, Tyler the Great Warrior actually has its own series number, being from TYLEN001, and is the only card from that series. This is because Tyler the Great Warrior was actually created with a partnership with Konami, 4Kids Entertainment, and the Make-A-Wish Foundation, after duelist Tyler Gessley survived his long and hard fight with a rare form of liver cancer. So Tyler was able to design his own card for the game, which is something you don't hear about too often. In terms of design, there are a couple of interesting references and Easter eggs. So the original design of the card was done by Tyler and then was adapted to Yugioh, and the original drawing was essentially a warrior deflecting an evil monster's terrible weapons. And you can see that with the design. Although we don't have the original drawing, we know that Tyler's depiction was based on Dragon Ball's future Trunks, with really similar hair and weapon. Also, Tyler is wearing the legendary Black Belt, which is an equip spell card that has a very similar effect to the effect of Tyler, but rather than being a specific equip card to either Chusuke the Mouse Fighter, Monk Fighter, Master Monk, and the main effect dealing damage based on your defense points of the destroyed monster, rather than the attack points like Tyler's effect. Unfortunately, as unique of a card Tyler the Great Warrior is, you won't really be able to use a copy of the card because the card is one of a kind and was only printed once, so there's only one copy in existence. Next up is Silver Sentinel. This is a level 4 Earth Warrior monster with 1500 attack and 1300 defense points, and the effect that allows you to set Silver Sentinel into your spell and trap card zone. And when it's destroyed by your opponent's card effect, you can special summon Silver Sentinel and destroy one of your opponent's cards during the end phase. And if this effect seems kind of familiar, well it should, because it's the same effect as the Artifact archetype. Silver Sentinel, alongside another card called Toy Magician, are seen as almost trial versions of cards, as it was released before the artifacts back in 2012. Toy Magician is a level 4 spellcaster monster, which has the ability to set itself from your hand to your spell trap card zone. And when an opponent's card effect destroys it, Toy Magician can special summon itself during the end phase. There's also an additional effect when it's flip summoned to destroy spell and trap cards equal to the number of Toy Magicians on the field. Although the secondary effect is kinda weird in the fact that you'll most likely only have one Toy Magician on the field at a time, and I guess there is some potential to have 2 on the field if you're lucky enough. On top of that, what makes Toy Magician a really weird case is it's not even a flip effect monster, so it doesn't benefit from flip monster support like Night Assailant. So I guess Konami was just really scared of how abusable this card could be with its pretty unique effect, or just created as a pack filler. So with Toy Magician, Silver Sentinel, and the artifact cards, you can kind of see how the effect has evolved over time to an effective but balanced archetypal effect. Artifact cards are a step up as the effective Silver Sentinel procs during the end phase, which is typically too late. And why artifact cards are such a good archetype is because you can use their effects to disrupt your opponent's plays. The most common examples with Artifact Scythe, that when destroyed, special summon itself immediately and locks your opponent from special summoning from the extra deck. Or with Artifact Moral Touch, which can just pop a card when it's destroyed. However, a case can be made that when Silver Sentinel is summoned during the end phase, your opponent can't prevent the special summon as easily, and it makes it harder to keep key cards on the end board as they have to play around knowing one of them might get destroyed. So, like a much weaker and harder to use Mira Jade the Iceblade Dragon, and was generally thought of as too slow to be effective even at the time that it came out. Although while this was true for the most part, Silver Sentinel was experimented with in Elemental Hero decks, in which the special summon during the end phase was valuable as players had a target to fusion summon Elemental Hero Gaia, or be overlaid with Elemental Hero Stratos, who typically, after its effect to search a card was used, became just another level 4 body on the field. But Silver Sentinel fell promptly out of favor afterwards, as it was too slow to use, and relied on your opponent's destruction rather than any destruction like artifacts did. Now, why this card is in this video is not for its effect, but its design and what it's inspired after. This card is based off of Simo Heiha, also known as the White Death, who was a Finnish sniper in World War II. He got the nickname for his legendary record of 500 kills in 1 year, which is quite terrifying if you think about it. As per the trend with snipers in wars, the effect of Silver Sentinel mimics it quite well. Silver Sentinel camouflages himself by hiding as a face-down spell or trap card, and then attacks his target when the enemy doesn't expect it, as in destroying the wrong target and special summoning itself and taking the enemy by surprise during the end phase. Also, despite Konami's known censorship for weapons in Yu-Gi-Oh!, Silver Sentinel's rifle is unchanged and really closely resembles a Remington 700. And finishing off this video, we have number 30 Acid Golem of Destruction, a generic rank 3 Xyz monster with a monstrous 3000 attack and defense points. In fact, Acid Golem has the highest attack points out of all rank 3 monsters in the game currently. However, at the cost of great stats and ease of summoning, Acid Golem has a negative effect attached to this, which is to detach material from Acid Golem during the standby phase or take 2000 damage, as well as locking you out of special summons. And the icing on the cake is that while lacking any materials, Acid Golem can't attack. Despite being a generic rank 3 beatstick that can go toe-to-toe with most boss monsters in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! With its 3000 attack, Acid Golem's terrible effect offsets the benefits immensely. However, despite this, players actually found some use for Acid Golem, which is to pass it to your opponent with creature swap. Specifically, you could use Bahama Shark, a rank 4 Xyz monster that can special summon another rank 3 or lower water Xyz monster by detaching one of its materials. So you can basically cheat Acid Golem onto the field with no materials and then creature swap it to your opponent. Then, due to Acid Golem's effect, they'll be taking 2000 damage every turn, and can't link summon or special summon any other monsters to get rid of Golem, plus it won't be able to attack, so it's just a sitting deck on the field. The only way to really get rid of it is with tributing it, which decks don't run as much as they used to, or with something like Skill Drain. But at that point, you're negating the rest of the effects of the monsters in the field as well, and you don't really want to run Skill Drain just to counter the possibility of getting an Acid Golem. The 2000 damage maintenance cost to keep Acid Golem is dealt as effect damage and is non-optional, unlike some other maintenance cost cards where you just can't activate their effects if you don't have enough life points. So Acid Golem can actually reduce your life points to 0 and end the game for you. Most decks that utilize Acid Golem weren't for these cheese strats though. The decks that use Acid Golem just use it as a 3k beatstick, and before it could lose its last material, the player would make sure to get Acid Golem off the field before things could get bad. But most decks only used it for important decisive blows, as the caveat of being unable to special summon monsters was one of the worst restrictions you could put yourself under. Outside of that negative effect, Acid Golem has some pretty interesting facts and lore attached to it. Believe it or not, Acid Golem is actually the first and only one of 4 rock water monsters in the game. 2 of the others are Adamantipator cards, and the other one is a really good water and earth monster support card called Kartorian, the Hidden Gem of the Seafront, that discards itself for an extra normal summon and can special summon itself while controlling one of the monsters of the attributes. Also, in terms of shared properties to other cards, Acid Golem is seen as the brother card to the infamous Lava Golem, as both have high attacks and a negative effect for the controller of the card. Although Lava Golem is typically the better of the Golem brothers, as you don't need any creature swap shenanigans, and you contribute your opponent's monsters for its summon, which is arguably one of the best forms of removal in the game since it bypasses almost all forms of protection, save tributing protection. With regards to Acid Golem itself, the artwork has some cool tidbits too. If you take a close look at Acid Golem, you can actually see the torso of Acid Golem being kinda burnt because of his own acid, and now the ribcage of the Golem is showing. I guess there's some kind of poetry with the artwork in that regard, because as intimidating and menacing looking as Acid Golem is, it hurts itself with its own power, just like how the player would once it runs out of materials. Acid Golem also appears in the artwork of Overlay Regen. This is a spell card that lets you target a face-up Xyz monster you control and equip Overlay Regen to that monster as a material. Number 30 Acid Golem appears in the background of the card alongside 2 other insanely popular Xyz monsters, Daigusto Emerald and Lavalval Chain. Who knows why the artist chose specifically Acid Golem to accompany 2 of the better known and a lot more popular Xyz monsters in the Xyz era, but your guess is as good as mine. Alright, and that concludes the unknown side of Yu-Gi-Oh! If there are any other cards you want to see me talk about or even whole subjects, let me know down in the comments below.